The billionaire's relationship with 4,000 women and its conclusion. Kosuke Nozaki. Famous billionaire Kosuke Nozaki, known for his relationships with over 4,000 women and lavish lifestyle, was infatuated from his youth to his old age, willing to spend up to 3 billion yen to be with different women, not hesitating to spend money to marry a worthy wife of the same age as his children and grandchildren. These are the traits when Japanese people mention successful businessman Kosuke Nozaki. Then the unexpected happened when at the age of 77, just 3 months after marrying a young wife, this tycoon suddenly died in a state of nudity, with no clothes to cover his body. The information became a big shock, leaving the Japanese public bewildered. Eventually, what happened to this wealthy man? Found dead naked at his private 2-story villa, a phone call to the Japanese police station reported that Japanese billionaire Kosuke Nozaki, 77, had suddenly passed away at his private 2-story villa. The authorities immediately dispatched personnel to the scene, sealing off the area and conducting necessary investigations upon arrival. Upon arrival, the police immediately conducted a preliminary examination of the victim's body and estimated that Kosuke had died within about 2 to 3 hours. By the time of the report, which is between 7 to 10 p.m., although there were no external injuries, the autopsy revealed something strange. A lethal amount of stimulant was found in his body, and the cause of death was determined to be acute circulatory failure. What's even stranger is that Nozaki usually didn't use such drugs, and checks also found no stimulants anywhere in his office, home, or car. The police suspected that this could be a deliberate homicide due to too many suspicious points. The police began investigating, obtaining statements from his young wife and male caretaker. At the time of Nozaki's death at home, there was both a young wife and a male caretaker present, both of whom were suspected. The butler's name is Takeda, who used to run a small bar but went bankrupt, leading him to work as a butler at Nozaki's house for over 30 years. Nozaki's wife appears relatively young, almost like Nozaki's daughter. Her name is Saki Sudo, 22 years old, 55 years younger than her husband. Sudo has a hot figure and a background as a model. Besides, she was once a famous adult film actress. Despite her family not being very wealthy, Sudo seems obedient but leads a somewhat extravagant lifestyle, being addicted to alcohol, lazy, money-hungry, and often going to nightclubs. The police have heard testimonies from both individuals, providing evidence of Sudo's external behavior. On the evening in question, they were lying on the bed together, watching a sumo match. About 6 hours after the sumo match ended, the butler called to inform that dinner was ready. Nozaki suggested that he would eat first as Sudo wasn't hungry yet. Nozaki decided to remain in the room to watch another sumo match. After dinner, Sudo stayed on the first floor until around 10 p.m. before going upstairs to sleep. At that moment, she discovered Nozaki sitting on the sofa, naked, leaning backward, unconscious. According to the testimonies of both individuals, it means that Nozaki was dead while his wife Sudo was downstairs on the first floor. The police speculate that when Nozaki was alone on the second floor, he may have ingested some stimulating drugs to commit suicide by mouth. Despite multiple thorough examinations, no evidence of self-harm was found on his body. However, the police find it unreasonable to conclude that Nozaki committed suicide, given his immense wealth, as his assets amounted to hundreds of billion yen. Just a few days before his beloved pet dog's sudden death, he called a close friend asking if they could come to accompany him for its farewell. The friend, who remembers the date as May 6th, stated that although Nozaki was saddened by his pet's recent death, there was no reason for him to commit suicide. With such vast wealth and a young, beautiful wife leading a seemingly happy life, it seems illogical for him to take his own life. the illogical death of the beloved pet dog. The more suspicious aspect is the death of the billionaire, 18 days after his pet dog, Ava, died unexpectedly in his arms. Close relatives knew that Nozaki doted on Ava excessively. He always talked about leaving his fortune to the dog after his passing. Upon hearing this information, the police immediately looked into the story of the beloved pet dog at Nozaki's house. They decided to exhume the dog's body and conduct a post-mortem examination because they suspected the dog might have been poisoned. However, contrary to the police's expectations, no traces of any stimulant were found. According to acquaintances, Nozaki loved his dog more than his young wife. Even while working, he occasionally called home to ask the butler about Eva's well-being. "Yes, sir, she's resting, but she's not eating much," the butler would reply. "Why isn't Eva eating?" Nozaki retorted. "If you let my Eva go hungry or get sick, I'll fire you immediately." When checking the 8 external cameras, it was peculiar that the police found no individual showing suspicious signs of attempting to break in. Only 2 people were inside the house, the butler and the young wife. The police began to consider who would benefit the most from Nozaki's death. All suspicions pointed to the primary suspect, the young wife Sudo. After gathering testimonies and initial investigations, Sudo emerged as the prime suspect in the murder case for several reasons. Firstly, her behavior was suspiciously calm and collected after her initial panic testimony. Instead of displaying any grief or sadness, she actively provided evidence of her external activities to the police. Secondly, during Nozaki's funeral, Sudo appeared indifferent and casual, even playing games on her phone. Thirdly, following her husband's death, Sudo requested an art valuation company to assess the paintings owned by Nozaki. She was suspected of planning to sell at least one of the valuable paintings owned by her wealthy husband. Fourthly, weeks after the funeral, Sudo swiftly moved to liquidate her husband's assets, unilaterally appointing herself as the company's president. She transferred over $300,000 from the company's treasury into her bank account and planned to relocate abroad. However, Mrs. Sudo argues that she has no reason to be suspicious. She claims to be at a disadvantage following her husband's death because there was a condition behind her marriage to Mr. Nozaki. Nozaki had to deposit 1,000 yen into Sudo's bank account monthly from the day they got married. Sudo asserts that Mr. Nozaki's death would result in losses for her both emotionally and financially. However, things seem more complicated than how the young and beautiful wife explains. Not long after, the police found something suspicious in the will left by Nozaki. The will stated that Mr. Nozaki would leave 3.5 billion yen of his assets to Mrs. Sudo immediately before his death. Given that Nozaki's assets were around 5 billion yen, it means he left almost all of his property to his wife. If so, Nozaki's death would be extremely advantageous for Sudo, not just financially, but in other ways too. Though it's hard to understand whether this will was genuinely written by Nozaki, it's perplexing why he would leave almost his entire fortune to his wife. Sudo scoffs, questioning if the police believe she forged the will and whether there's an issue with her husband giving her an allowance of 1,000 yen per month. "No, I don't mean there's an issue," she clarifies. "It's just a bit puzzling." It's evident to everyone that the young wife stands to benefit the most from Nozaki's death. However, the police lack evidence to prove that Sudo is the murderer. Meanwhile, Sudo continues to deny any involvement in her husband's death and remains silent in the face of accusations from the police. The case has been reported in the media, and many have ridiculed the police for their incompetence in failing to find evidence while everyone sees the young wife as the culprit. Nozaki's success story has become a hot topic. The millionaire Nozaki was once so poor that he had nothing in his hands. He was born in Tanabe City, Wakayama Prefecture in 1941, as the third son in a family of 7 siblings. Coming from a humble background, he completed junior high school and then ventured into a life of survival. After graduating from junior high, he worked at a metal scrap yard, collecting scrap metal and iron powder, which he sold to scrap metal dealers to save money. Without money, he lacked charm and couldn't attract any women. Consequently, no one paid attention to him. Feeling envious of the wealthy who could afford to drink and socialize with beautiful women at bars, he realized that money controlled everything. Determined to make money by any means, he started collecting metal scrap and iron powder from factories and selling them to scrap metal dealers to make extra money. He also took on the job of delivering beer to entertainment districts at night. One day, while delivering beer, he found a white object under a drain. To his surprise, it was a condom. He realized that although everyone knew condoms were sold at drugstores, no one dared to buy them due to embarrassment. So, with a little courage, he bought condoms wholesale and started selling them to entertainment venues. At that time, the salary of an ordinary office worker was 15,000 yen, but he sold a box of 12 condoms for 200 yen. Nozaki earned a lot of money without considering the risk of ridicule associated with selling condoms. He quit his job as a liquor store employee and began selling condoms seriously. Nozaki made a fortune selling condoms, and he decided to invest his life savings in stocks. He earned even more money from stocks and soon found himself unable to control his wealth. Feeling lucky, he ventured into the Tokyo real estate market to see how far his luck would take him. Later, in his book, Nozaki accumulated a significant amount of money, claiming that the biggest gamble of his life was entering the Tokyo real estate market. Besides his success in business and real estate, Nozaki also ventured into the liquor trade, finance, and the private lending market. He became a successful man from humble beginnings, known to many in Japan. Nozaki pursued his extravagant desires for nightlife and indulgence, enduring many insults in his youth. Now he has become someone who can buy any beautiful woman he desires. He once told a reporter covering his success story that he had been in relationships with about 4,000 beautiful women and had spent around 3 billion yen on them. He boasted that there was nothing he couldn't buy with money. His memoir was even published under the title The Man Who Bought 4,000 Beautiful Women for 3 billion yen in December 2016. Another book published in April 2007 was titled I Want to Sleep with Beautiful Girls Until I Die, where it was revealed that Nozaki, along with a woman, had sexual relations with a 27-year-old model at his private residence in February 2016. Subsequently, he was robbed of 6 million yen in cash and 54 million yen worth of precious metals. When asked about it, Nozaki casually dismissed it, saying it was just a life lesson for him and that he didn't consider it a loss. He even considered it a good experience in life. Nozaki unexpectedly married a young wife after experiencing countless transient relationships and fleeting pleasures exchanged for money. Finally, on August 2, 2008, Nozaki unexpectedly committed suicide and married a 22-year-old model named Sudo. According to both of their accounts to the media about this fateful romance, one day Nozaki fell at the airport, and Sudo helped him up. He thanked her and invited her to dinner, sparking their connection and subsequent love affair. Nozaki recounted that he fell in love with her when he saw her innocence, which was unlike any other women he had encountered. As a result, they quickly got involved and decided to move forward with marriage. The revelation was made in Gendai Business a few months before the businessman's death, where he confidently expressed that he would always be happy marrying Sudo. Despite warnings to stay away from a woman 55 years younger than him, suggesting she might only be interested in his vast wealth, it seems Nozaki's keen business acumen was only utilized in the marketplace. In matters of the heart, he easily shed all layers of caution with his life partner. If Sudo did indeed kill her husband, what other motives could there be aside from money? Reveal dark past. After a happy time, someone revealed the truth about Sudo to Nozaki. This person showed off photos of Sudo before plastic surgery, revealing that she was not a model but an adult film actress. Nozaki was extremely angry when he learned that she deliberately deceived him, causing him to fall and then pretended to help him at the airport. He couldn't stand the feeling of being betrayed and taken advantage of for money. Finally, when he saw pictures of her before plastic surgery and her being with another man, he decided to divorce her. Nozaki called her to confirm the truth of these matters and informed her of the divorce. Nozaki was angry and decided to end the relationship, saying, "Look at this woman. She is nothing more than trash. You and your lover set everything up. I am preparing divorce papers. Just wait." Sudo said, "Darling, who deceived you? I only love you. Age cannot separate us, and no one can separate our relationship. Shut up, that's enough." Sudo was afraid her husband would leave her for someone else. However, according to Japanese media, before his death, Nozaki seemed to be bored with his wife and was considering divorce. The reason is because, since getting married, Sudo has only stayed in Tokyo and refused to move to Tanabe to live with her husband. During this time, the 80-year-old tycoon was said to have had relationships with many women besides his wife before his death. Nozaki has a romance with a beautiful woman named A, who was a finalist in the Miss World Japan contest. According to A's revelation, she is 25 years old, 1.73 meters tall, possesses stunning beauty, and is more outstanding than Sudo. So, when Sudo did not return to Tanabe, Nozaki decided to definitely break up with her to marry someone new. Nozaki's resolute decision put Sudo at risk of ending her lavish lifestyle, which is seen as the driving force behind her murdering her husband to take over his vast fortune. The police concluded that Sudo was most likely afraid of being evicted from the house without receiving any money after the divorce, so she planned to kill her husband to inherit the property. However, Sudo's lawyer asserted that she was innocent of all the prosecutor's evidence, and also asserted that there was no direct evidence that she had committed this act. And for a while, the incident seemed to be forgotten by public opinion. After 2 years of stagnation, the sudden death of Tycoon Nozaki in a state of paralysis unexpectedly drew significant attention from the Japanese public, with many new details being revealed. In 2020, when a drug dealer was arrested, the police tracked down a list of buyers, including Sudo's phone number, indicating that she had contacted the drug dealer. It is highly possible that she purchased drugs to poison Nozaki. Upon re-examining the crime scene, traces of stimulants were found on the floor and in the vacuum cleaner at Nozaki's residence. By early 2021, when the police checked Sudo's personal belongings as part of the investigation, they discovered similar search history on her computer regarding purchasing and using drugs, even including keywords related to murder. This indicated that the actress had meticulously planned the assassination of her husband. On April 28, 2021, Sudo was immediately arrested as a suspect in Nozaki's murder. On May 19, 2021, the Wakayama Prefecture Prosecutor's Office indicted Saki Sudo for murder and violating laws on drug trafficking and use. According to police sources cited by the Manichi newspaper, Sudo decided to remain silent and await the trial process to appeal. The Sudosaki murder case continued to stir up Japanese public opinion whenever it was mentioned, due to deep-rooted greed. The former adult actress ultimately faced not only the loss of her inheritance but also a severe sentence for the crime of murder. The fate of the once affluent tycoon became a topic of incessant discussion, from the joys of life to the end of life, departing from the very indulgence he once embraced.